Good evening, dear listeners. As you close your eyes and settle into the quiet of the night, let me take you to a hidden village, cradled between dark forests and towering cliffs. There, a young girl named Elara gazes at the skies, finding tales woven in clouds and secrets hidden beyond our world. Tonight, drift with her on a journey to a place of mysteries and dreams, a place where voices call softly on the wind and paths open only to those who believe. Allow your breath to slow, let your mind relax, and together we'll step into this timeless tale under a sky filled with wonder. Let the story carry you. In a quiet village nestled between dark forests and tall, craggy cliffs, there lived a young girl named Elara. She was as much a mystery to the villagers as the skies she loved to watch. Where others saw only clouds drifting and dispersing, Elara found stories, secrets, and paths beyond sight. She spent her afternoons alone at the edge of the village, sitting on the high cliffs that looked over the endless fields, and beyond them, the infinite sky. Her heart, too, was boundless as the heavens, though lonely as the hills. Her days passed quietly, each one a solitary echo of the one before. On an evening when the sun seemed to sink slower, pouring gold and red into the world, Elara heard it. A voice, soft as a breeze, faint as mist. It called her name, drawn out in a tone both gentle and filled with wonder. Elara. She turned, heart leaping, but saw no one. Only the cliffs stretching toward a darkening horizon, only the sky thickening with the first threads of night. For a moment, she thought it must be her imagination, a trick of the mind, like hearing echoes in a canyon. But then the voice came again, threading its way through the air, faint but unmistakable. It held a warmth, a beckoning, and beneath that, something even stranger, a familiarity, as if the voice belonged to someone she had known for all her life but had never seen. Elara, she whispered back, her own voice filled with awe. Who are you? Only silence greeted her, a silence so deep it seemed as though the world was holding its breath, waiting. And then, as softly as it had begun, the voice returned, now carrying a hint of a promise, light as the whispering wind. Wait for me, by the cliff's edge. Soon I will find you. Then, as suddenly as it had arrived, the voice faded, leaving Elara alone, surrounded by shadows stretching across the earth like darkened fingers. That night, Elara lay in bed, unable to forget the voice or the promise it carried. Outside her window, clouds drifted slowly across the moon, casting ghostly shadows over the village. She closed her eyes, hoping sleep would bring dreams of whoever, or whatever, had spoken to her. And in her dreams, a vision arose, more vivid than any she'd ever seen. She saw herself standing on a pathway woven from strands of mist, leading into a realm that floated above the earth. A kingdom, vast and hidden within clouds that glowed like silver, veiled in mystery and bathed in soft, pale light. Towers made of crystal fog rose into the sky, surrounded by rivers of light that flowed like ethereal streams. She saw herself walking in this world, feeling the weightless clouds beneath her feet. And then, in the distance, a figure emerged. A figure draped in a gown spun of moonlight and stars, a crown on her head, and eyes as deep as the boundless skies. "Elara," the figure whispered. It was the same voice, but now she could see her. This princess of the clouds was as beautiful as the twilight, her face serene yet sorrowful, as if bearing the weight of untold secrets. She extended a hand toward Elara, a silent invitation. In the dream, Elara reached out, but just as their hands were about to touch, she awoke. Her heart raced, her mind still adrift in the memory of that luminous world. The vision felt so real, like a memory just out of reach. Elara lay awake in the darkness, feeling a strange thrill that only grew as dawn began to touch the horizon. The following morning, she dressed with unusual haste, feeling an invisible tug on her spirit. She felt certain that today would not be like other days, and a quiet excitement hummed within her chest. By the time the sun rose, Elara had already climbed the path to the cliffs. There, she stood on the edge, waiting, staring up at the sky, as if expecting it to open and reveal its secrets. The hours passed, the morning drifting into afternoon, and Elara felt her hope begin to dim, like the fading light in the west. Yet, just as she thought of leaving, a shimmer appeared in the distance. It was not quite light, nor shadow, but something in between, a glow like silver mist. The air grew still, heavy with anticipation, as if the world were waiting for some ancient, long-forgotten ritual to unfold. And then, from within the shimmering mist, a figure began to take form. Elara's breath caught, her heart pounding in her chest. There, stepping from the mist as if woven from its very threads, was the princess of her dreams, just as she had seen her, a crown upon her head, her gown flowing like stardust in the wind. "Elara," the princess said, her voice filled with warmth and wonder. She extended a hand, just as she had in the dream. "I am Seraphina, princess of the Cloud Kingdom. I have come to bring you to my world." And as Elara took Seraphina's hand, the sky opened up around them, revealing a path woven from shimmering mist, leading up into the boundless heavens. Elara felt the world shift as her hand joined Seraphina's, the grip delicate yet steadfast. In that single touch, the earthly realm faded away like a passing shadow, leaving only a luminous path stretching forward, leading them into a world unbound by earth, hidden within the veils of the sky. The air grew thick with mystery, charged with an ancient magic that hummed quietly around them, both comforting and strange. The path shimmered beneath their feet, woven from silvery mist that drifted and coiled, solid yet insubstantial. Elara could hardly catch her breath, her senses overwhelmed by the beauty that unfolded around her with each step. Stars glimmered within the mists, scattered like diamonds across a velvet sky, illuminating the way as they ascended higher into the heavens. It was as if the clouds themselves held secrets that only the brave could glimpse, a world concealed just beyond reach, waiting for those who dared to dream. Serafina walked beside her, her gaze focused ahead, her face illuminated by a faint, ethereal light. Elara watched her, enchanted by the quiet strength and grace that radiated from the princess. Her gown, spun from clouds and starlight, seemed to move with a life of its own, shifting and flowing with the breeze, merging seamlessly into the mists that surrounded them. It was as though Serafina were a part of the sky itself, born from its depths, a being of pure light and wonder. "Serafina," Elara whispered, almost afraid to break the spell of silence. "Where are we going?" "To the place where my world begins," Serafina replied softly, her voice filled with a calm that soothed Elara's racing heart. "To the heart of the Cloud Kingdom, where secrets are guarded by winds and dreams are woven into the sky." Elara felt a shiver run through her, a thrill that was part fear and part excitement. She had only dreamed of such a world, had only imagined what lay beyond the boundaries of the clouds. And now, here she was, stepping into that world, guided by the hand of its princess. The mists thickened, swirling around them like a living entity, shifting and parting only when Serafina moved forward. It was as if the path were opening only for her, a passage into a hidden realm. Soon, they reached a towering archway made of the same mist and light as the path. Elara felt a strange sense of awe as they passed beneath it, as if crossing a threshold into something sacred and ancient. Beyond the archway, a vast expanse opened before her, a kingdom suspended within the clouds, stretching as far as the eye could see. Towers of translucent silver rose from the mist, their tops lost in the hazy glow above, each one adorned with glistening lights that sparkled like tiny stars. Rivers of light wound through the kingdom, their waters gleaming with a soft, otherworldly luminescence. They twisted and turned, carving paths through fields of floating gardens, where flowers of every imaginable color bloomed, their petals shimmering like drops of rain caught in moonlight. The air was thick with a scent that was both floral and mysterious, mingling with the cool, crisp freshness of the clouds. Elara's heart raced as she took in the wonder before her. "It's beautiful," she breathed, feeling as though her words fell short of capturing the kingdom's otherworldly allure. Serafina looked at her with a small, wistful smile. "This is the Cloud Kingdom, Elara, a place of beauty and light, hidden from the eyes of It is a place bound not by earth, but by belief and memory. Only those who dare to believe in what they cannot see may glimpse its beauty. They continued walking, Serafina leading Elara through the shimmering streets lined with towers and gardens. Elara felt as though she were in a dream, each step carrying her deeper into a world that seemed to shift and change, as if alive. Shadows danced among the towers, whispers floated through the air, secrets that seemed to slip away the moment she tried to listen. Serafina led her to a quiet garden where a fountain of clouded glass flowed with liquid starlight, casting a soft glow over the surroundings. Elara sat beside it, mesmerized by the way the light shifted and swirled, forming shapes that seemed almost alive. This kingdom is sustained by those who believe in it, Elara, Serafina said, her voice barely above a whisper, her gaze distant. But belief is fading in the world below. Fewer and fewer remember the stories of the skies. With each passing year, my kingdom grows weaker, fading into shadows, its beauty concealed behind an impenetrable mist. Elara looked up at Serafina, her heart aching at the sorrow in the princess's voice. But how can it fade? It's so beautiful, so real. Real, yes, Serafina replied, but also fragile. Our existence depends on the dreams and hopes of those below. As their belief wanes, so too does our light. One day, if forgotten entirely, we will become nothing but mist, lost forever in the shadows of memory. Elara reached out, her hand brushing Serafina's. I believe in it, she whispered, a fierce determination rising within her. I'll never forget what I've seen here. The princess smiled, her eyes shining with gratitude. Then perhaps, Elara, there is hope yet. They sat in silence, their fingers intertwined, gazing into the fountain's glow as stars drifted past in the sky above, distant yet timeless. Elara knew in that moment that she would carry this memory with her forever, a part of her bound to the cloud kingdom, her heart entwined with the fate of this hidden world. Days passed like a whispered dream, and Elara wandered through the cloud kingdom, each step uncovering wonders she could scarcely believe were real. Serafina led her through halls of crystal fog, where ancient secrets lingered like shadows on the walls, and to gardens where flowers opened at the touch of moonlight, their petals glistening with colours that shifted and changed like the northern lights. Here, in this hidden world, Elara felt as though she belonged to something grand and infinite, as if she were part of an unspoken story, one that echoed through the heavens. One evening, Serafina brought her to a vast chamber where shelves carved from mist held countless scrolls and delicate glowing orbs. The room was silent, but for a gentle hum, as though the air itself were filled with voices of the past. Serafina's face was solemn, her eyes tracing over the shelves as if each one held a memory dear to her. "This is the Hall of Winds," she said, her voice barely more than a whisper. "Here, we preserve the dreams and memories of those who have glimpsed our world. Each scroll and orb contains a fragment of belief, a story, a song, a wish. They are the heartbeats of this kingdom." Elara reached out, her fingers hovering over one of the glowing orbs. Within it, she saw faint images swirling, shapes that seemed to hold pieces of lives she could not fully grasp. There was a fleeting image of a child looking up at the stars, of a sailor lost at sea, of a poet watching clouds drift by, all glimpses of those who had, for a moment, believed in something beyond themselves. As she touched the orb, a sensation washed over her, a whisper of something familiar, a tug on her heart as if she were remembering a forgotten dream. "These are memories?" she asked, her voice filled with wonder. "Memories, hopes, and forgotten stories," Serafina replied, her gaze distant. "Every fragment here is a piece of someone's heart, a moment when they looked up to the skies and felt something magical, something greater than themselves. These are what sustain us, Elara. Without them, we are mere shadows." Elara felt a deep sadness tug at her, a sorrow for the fleeting nature of belief. She saw how the orbs dimmed, each one flickering like a dying star. "But why must they fade?" she whispered. "If they are so precious, why do people forget?" Serafina looked away, her expression clouded. "Because in the mortal world, the beauty of the unseen is often overshadowed by the weight of the tangible. Dreams are discarded as mere fantasies, and wonder is traded for certainty. Those who once believed grow older, and as they do, they turn their gaze away from the sky, their minds tethered to the earth." She paused, her voice barely a murmur. "And with each forgotten story, the light of our kingdom dims." A chill swept through the hall, a dark presence creeping into the warmth of the room, casting shadows over the shimmering orbs. Elara turned, catching a glimpse of something lurking at the edge of the mist. A figure, vague and indistinct, yet filled with a sense of malice and emptiness. It was a darkness that seemed to pulse with hunger, feeding on the fading lights of the memories. Serafina's face grew pale, her voice tense. "He is the Shadow Keeper," she said, her gaze fixed on the figure. "Born of forgotten memories, he grows stronger with each belief that fades, each story left untold. He is what we fear most, the embodiment of oblivion, the force that seeks to consume our light and leave us in endless night." The Shadow Keeper drifted closer, his form shifting and changing, a haze of dark mist that seemed to absorb the light around him. Elara felt a shiver run through her as his hollow gaze turned toward her, empty yet piercing, as if he could see every fear she held. Serafina stepped in front of her, a shield of unwavering grace and strength. "He cannot harm you, Elara," she said, her voice steady. But he is a threat to our kingdom, a force we have fought for ages, as relentless as the tides. Only those who remember, who believe, can keep him at bay. Yet, belief is fading, and with it, our power to protect this world. Elara clenched her fists, a sense of resolve stirring within her. Then let me help you. I believe, and I know others could too. There must be a way to reach them. Seraphina turned to her, hope flickering in her eyes. Perhaps, she said softly. But it is a difficult path, Elara. Mortal hearts are often closed to what they cannot see. Elara nodded, her gaze unwavering. But not all. There are still those who feel wonder, who dream of places beyond. If we can reach them, perhaps they will remember. A gentle smile softened Seraphina's face. Then perhaps you are our hope, Elara. A bridge between our world and theirs. Someone who can remind them of the beauty they've lost. They stood together in the Hall of Winds. A fragile moment of light against the encroaching shadows. Elara knew then that her heart was bound to this kingdom, its fate entwined with her own. She would not let the Cloud Kingdom fade into oblivion, nor allow the beauty of Seraphina's world to be devoured by the darkness. In that sacred hall, surrounded by the memories of those who had once dared to believe, Elara made a silent vow. She would help Seraphina keep the light alive. Time in the Cloud Kingdom moved like drifting mist, an illusion of hours and days blending into a timeless haze. Elara, though bound to the fleeting rhythms of earth, felt herself growing into the kingdom's ancient pulse. She walked with Seraphina daily, learning the secrets of this hidden world, feeling a kinship not only with its beauty, but also with its fragility. Yet, as each day passed, she sensed something darker stirring beneath the kingdom's tranquil facade. One evening, as twilight cast a soft glow over the cloud-wrought towers, a sudden chill swept through the air, heavy and foreboding. Elara looked up to see dark clouds gathering at the edges of the kingdom, swirling and thickening like ink spilled in water, staining the sky. Shadows deepened around them, and the once gleaming rivers of light dulled, their brightness consumed by an unseen force. A thunderous rumble echoed across the sky, the sound rolling over the kingdom like a distant drumbeat. Elara's heart quickened. She felt a darkness clawing at the edge of her mind, a sense of dread that made her shiver. Seraphina's face grew pale, her gaze fixed on the horizon, where the clouds coiled in ominous spirals. "The Shadow Keeper," she murmured, her voice laced with both fear and determination. "He grows bolder, feeding off our fading light, drawing strength from every story forgotten by those below." Elara looked around, watching as the kingdom's once glowing towers flickered like dying stars. She felt a pang of desperation. The beauty of this place was slipping away, inch by inch, lost to the hungry darkness that crept ever closer. "What can we do, Seraphina?" she asked, her voice trembling. "How do we stop him?" Seraphina's gaze turned somber, her shoulders burdened with a weight she had carried for centuries. Our only hope lies in rekindling the belief that sustains us. The stories, the dreams, they are our lifeblood, Elara. But as the Shadow Keeper grows stronger, his influence reaches the minds of mortals, causing them to doubt, to dismiss the magic they once felt. It is a battle fought not with swords, but with hearts willing to remember. A low growl sounded through the clouds, and out of the gathering storm, the Shadow Keeper emerged, a figure cloaked in darkness, his form constantly shifting, a void where light could not exist. His presence filled the air with a suffocating chill, his gaze like two hollow stars, devoid of warmth or mercy. His eyes fixed upon Seraphina and Elara, glinting with a predatory hunger. "I grow stronger, princess," he intoned, his voice hollow and ancient, a sound that seemed to echo from the depths of forgotten time. "Your kingdom weakens with each passing day, with each dream that fades into dust. Soon, it will be nothing more than shadow, swallowed by the night." Seraphina stood tall, though Elara could see the fear in her eyes. "You may claim the darkness, Shadow Keeper, but you will never hold sway over the hearts that believe," she replied, her voice resolute. The Shadow Keeper's hollow gaze shifted to Elara, and she felt a shiver run through her, as though he could see every flicker of doubt within her. He reached out a darkened hand, his voice dripping with venomous curiosity. "And you, mortal child," he murmured, "do you truly believe in what you cannot see? Or do you too doubt the magic of this place, as so many of your kind do?" Elara swallowed, fear prickling her skin like cold needles. But she stood firm, drawing strength from Seraphina's presence beside her. "I believe," she whispered, her voice growing stronger. "I believe in the beauty of this kingdom, in its light and its mystery, and I will not let it fade." The Shadow Keeper let out a low, mocking laugh, his form twisting like smoke caught in the wind. "Words are fragile things," he sneered, his voice a chilling whisper. "Belief is easily forgotten, easily cast aside. And as long as doubt exists, I shall grow ever stronger, until your precious kingdom is nothing but shadow." With a sudden gust of cold wind, he retreated into the storm, his laughter fading into the depths of the darkness that churned around them. The storm continued to gather, casting a heavy shadow over the kingdom, draining the light from its towers, dimming the rivers until they resembled ghostly veins of fading silver. Seraphina turned to Elara, her face etched with sorrow and resolve. "There is only one way we can hold back the Shadow Keeper, Elara. You must return to the mortal world and share what you have seen. Tell your people of our kingdom, of the beauty hidden above the clouds. If they remember, if even a single heart dares to believe, then perhaps our light will endure." Elara's heart ached at the thought of leaving, of parting from this world that had captured her soul. But she understood the gravity of what Serafina was asking. She knew that her memories alone would not be enough to save the kingdom. The belief of others was needed to keep the light alive, to push back the dark tides of the Shadow Keeper. "I'll do it, Serafina," she said, her voice filled with determination. "I'll make them remember. I'll share every detail, every secret, every glimmer of magic. I promise, I won't let your world be forgotten." Serafina's eyes softened, a faint smile crossing her face, though it was tinged with sorrow. "Then perhaps, Elara, there is hope. Take this." She reached into the folds of her gown, drawing out a small vial containing a single wisp of cloud, glowing faintly like a captive star. "It is a piece of our world. Carry it with you and may it guide you back to us when the time is right." Elara took the vial, clutching it close to her heart, feeling its gentle warmth seep into her. She looked up at Serafina, 1,000 unspoken words passing between them. And then, in a swirl of mist and light, she felt herself falling, the Cloud Kingdom fading from sight, the storm and the Shadow Keeper's darkness left behind. As she descended back to Earth, Elara held the memory of that world close, her heart bound by an unbreakable promise. She would keep the light of the Cloud Kingdom alive, no matter how fierce the shadows grew. Elara awoke to the cool embrace of Earth, the familiar weight of the world pressing gently upon her as she opened her eyes. Above her, the morning sky stretched vast and pale, clouds drifting lazily by, ordinary and unremarkable to any who might look. Yet Elara knew better now. She could feel the heartbeat of the Cloud Kingdom pulsing faintly within her, a quiet rhythm that echoed with the memory of silver towers and rivers of light. In her hand, she clutched the vial Serafina had given her, the single wisp of cloud swirling softly within, a glimmer of magic held captive in glass. It glowed with a light so faint, it seemed like a secret hidden in plain sight. Elara held it close, feeling its warmth, a spark of Serafina's world, a reminder of the vow she had made. Days turned to weeks, and Elara began sharing her stories with anyone who would listen. She spun tales of the Cloud Kingdom, her words filled with wonder, describing the beauty hidden above the clouds, the towers of mist that rose like ancient spires, the rivers that glistened with starlight. She spoke of Serafina, the Cloud Princess, her quiet grace and luminous strength, the kindness in her eyes, and the weight of her sorrow as the kingdom slowly faded. At first, the villagers listened with mild curiosity, charmed by her stories, but few took them to heart. Most saw her tales as fanciful distractions, the imaginings of a young girl with a heart too wild for the world below. She would see their smiles, indulgent but faintly dismissive, and her heart ached with the burden of her promise. But Elara was undeterred. She went from village to village, telling her story by firelight, under the stars, hoping that even a whisper of the Cloud Kingdom might awaken something in those who listened. A spark, a memory, a sliver of belief. She spoke to the children especially, watching as their eyes lit up with wonder, their minds open to the possibility of the unseen. She told them of the Shadow Keeper, of the darkness that threatened to devour the kingdom, and how only belief could keep the shadows at bay. One evening, as she shared her story with a small crowd gathered by the cliffs, she noticed a change, a shift, almost imperceptible, in the air around her. The clouds above began to glow faintly, touched by a light that was not from the setting sun. It was a light she recognized, a light she had carried with her from the kingdom, now beginning to flicker across the sky, as if the heavens themselves were listening. The villagers, sensing the unusual glow, looked up in awe. For a moment they saw what Elara had always seen, the beauty hidden within the clouds, the faint outlines of towers and rivers, veiled in mist and light. It was only a glimpse, a fleeting vision, but it was enough. Elara could feel their hearts opening, even if just a little, to the possibility of magic beyond their understanding. Her stories continued to spread, like a quiet ripple across the land. Children whispered tales of the Cloud Kingdom to each other, filling their nights with dreams of silver towers and shimmering rivers. Elders began to recall stories from their own youth, fragments of tales they had once believed but had long since buried. Slowly, the kingdom's memory took root in the hearts of the villagers, each one carrying a piece of that world within them. As the belief grew, Elara began to feel a change within her, as if the kingdom's light were rekindling inside her own heart. She would hold the vial Seraphina had given her, watching as the single wisp of cloud glowed brighter with each passing day. It was a promise kept alive by the whispers of children, by the memories of the elders, by the faint but unbreakable hope that beauty still lingered above them. One night, as she sat alone by the cliffs, gazing up at the sky, a familiar warmth spread through her, and she felt a presence beside her. She turned, and there, framed by the light of the moon, stood Seraphina, her form ethereal, woven from mist and starlight. The princess smiled, her eyes filled with gratitude and quiet pride. "You have kept your promise, Elara," she said, her voice like a gentle breeze, filling the night with a sense of peace. The kingdom grows brighter, its light rekindled by those who believe. Elara's heart swelled with joy, a weight lifting from her spirit. "They see it, Seraphina," she whispered, her voice trembling. "They believe. The Cloud Kingdom will not fade." Seraphina extended her hand, and Elara felt a warmth envelop her, a bond of friendship that transcended worlds. "You are forever part of our story now, Elara, and our light will endure, as long as even a single heart remembers." Together, They looked up at the sky, watching as the clouds parted to reveal the faint glimmer of towers and rivers shimmering softly above. The villagers too had gathered, gazing in awe as the vision unfolded. A fleeting glimpse of the kingdom they had only heard of in stories, now revealed in all its beauty. And as the first rays of dawn touched the cliffs, Elara knew that the Cloud Kingdom was no longer a mere memory, but a part of the world, alive in the hearts of those who dared to believe. The Shadow Keeper's power would never claim the kingdom, for its light was bound by a promise stronger than shadows, a promise kept alive by stories and dreams. From that day on, the Cloud Kingdom remained a mystery, a world glimpsed only by those with wonder in their hearts. And Elara, forever changed by her journey, became its silent guardian, a storyteller bound by an eternal promise, carrying the memory of her friend, the Cloud Princess, and the beauty of the hidden kingdom wherever she went.